So here we have a Master Tier Lucio. He's wondering if he should be more passive, more aggressive, something, you know, something that all Lucios kind of have an issue with. And we're going to see that he's a bit crazy. He's a bit hyperactive. All right, and something, okay. Right off the bat, right, the first thing I saw, and this is a problem that all Lucio players have. I don't want to generalize, but I've never seen a Lucio player that doesn't have this issue. I'm sure that there are some that don't. But many Lucio players, for some reason, are lazy aimers. Lazy aimers. And I'm going to point it out a couple more times in this VOD. But let's take a hero like a pretty similar hero, Zenyatta, let's say. Alright? Projectile, whatever. So Zenyatta, normally with Zenyatta, if you're attacking someone, let's find a... So it's pretty smooth usually. People are quite disciplined, you know, okay, whatever, we're steady. We want to shoot this guy, and then we want to shoot this guy over there, you know. It's pretty steady. It's something normal you see. That's how you're supposed to aim, right? But if we see most Lucio players, they don't aim like that. They just sort of generally wave their hands in the opponent's direction. And we're going to go back to the VOD and I'll show you why. But so instead of like doing the actual, you know, being disciplined with it, they'll just sort of, you know, wave it around. Like they just sort of do this. They just like generally aim in the general direction, like, all right, I'm kind of aiming at you, maybe. You have to be careful when we do that. And so my example here is when he's shooting at this, he's pre-aiming for the Genji right here. And we'll see that, okay, but look, what's this? What's that shot? What's this shot? Why are we shooting at the corner there? Be disciplined. Especially for a Masters player. Your aim is better than this, I know it is. And you can look for yourself throughout the VOD. I'll point out just a couple more times. But besides that, he's going to do a whole lot of flashy, cool stuff. It's going to make you go, ooh, and ah. And he really likes to jump around. In general, his usage with the speed boost versus the heal is a bit random at times, but mostly it's okay. It's okay. So we're going to get our little damage on the D.Va here. No problem. But as far as the flashy stuff goes, we're going to see the Genji ults. That's actually an incredibly early ult on the Genji. Staying on healing, which is good, because we don't really need the speed, and our team is a little bit down on health. But something that we're going to see is that sometimes he goes a little bit too much for the flashy plays. So it's easy on Lucio to just do stuff, because it always looks like you're doing cool stuff as Lucio. And especially when you try to be aggressive, there's a big difference between being flashy and being aggressive. That's something we'll see in a little bit. So this is a good thing he's doing. He's ferrying his team over with the speed boost from the spawn, something that all Lucios should get into the habit of doing. Remember, this is the Masters VOD, so there aren't going to be too many really egregious mistakes here. But there are still, of course, mistakes. So now we're going into another fight here. And this might be a fight through... Okay. Yeah, this is a fight where I think we kind of get... Whoa, look at that. Such a cool wall climb. Dude, such a cool wall climb. But I didn't really... I mean, if we look at it... His team's fighting. He's just doing all this crazy stuff. Whoa, look at that. But, I mean, we're not really doing anything. We're not shooting at people, and that was a really, really obvious example. But there are lots of little micro examples where this player in particular, but a lot of Lucios just sort of kind of do some fancy, crazy stuff when it really doesn't do anything. Because with Lucio, it's very easy to just go in and be like, all right, I'm, you know, whoa, let's do stuff. I'm like going crazy, and you like wave your camera around. You see this a lot with Lucios, like, whoa, it's doing crazy stuff. But this is a little eccentric. We can be a little calmer most of the time, and we see that this player does it a lot. And especially with that wall climb right there, he was just kind of going crazy. He really got into the music, you know, got into the beat. Was just wall jumping like a maniac. So we gotta calm down a little bit. I say that a lot with every hero. We just gotta calm down. That's 99% of people's problems in this game, or part of their problem. They just need to chill out, like this. Why are we going so crazy with the camera? Why are we going so crazy with the camera? Just like here, we're going, woo. We're going to see in a second. Woo! Whoa! Whoa! I'm getting dizzy. You know, you just look at the soldier, track him down. There you go. Still wind up getting the soldier, though, I think. Yes, we do. So that's quite good. And on we go. So you might actually wind up getting dizzy from watching this VOD, because this player really likes to get passionate. He likes to get into the game. You know how it's like when you jump? You know how it's like when you jump, or you melee or something? Sometimes if you're really into it, if you're really into the game, instead of, or like Reinhardt's a good example. If you're really into it, instead of just being like, okay, I'm jumping, you'd be like, jump. You know, you really get into the fluid motion, or like melee, like wind it up, you know? Or when you shoot, you like kind of feel the recoil. You know, I know it's easy. It's easy to do if you really get into the game, but gotta be disciplined, gotta be boring. So let's go. Okay. So we actually have a nano boosted Genji doing some crazy stuff here. We counter it with the sound barrier, which is good. Overall, very good sound barrier usage, by the way, from this player. He doesn't really do any bad ones. You know, they're all quite good. All right, and now our team's getting a little bit crazy, but you know, we managed to pick some off. This is good. And it looks like our team's about to win the round, until we don't, because their diva comes up, stalls for a little bit, and we wind up being very out of position, finally punished for our crazy antics. So just because you're Lucio doesn't mean that you shouldn't still adhere to normal things. Like, we should be in here, maybe in this room, maybe behind those barrels over there. But instead we're way out in the open, and we wind up getting easily killed by the soldier. Alright, so we're going to watch one more fight, I think, here on defense. And I believe that they do a full hold of this second point. But overall, pretty mechanically rather good player. Has good decision making for his ultimates, pretty good decision making for his crossfades back and forth, and for his E, and all that good stuff. But just his exuberance, his enthusiasm, his craziness is really making it very hard for him when it doesn't necessarily have to be. And I believe we wind up full holding this all the way. And it's just a bunch of boring fights one after another. So let's check out the attack. You'd actually be surprised, Aimondo. He's actually not as hard to hit when he's doing that, like compared to if he was just doing regular ADing and keeping his camera normal. Like, spinning your camera doesn't make you any harder to hit it. Moving makes you harder to hit. You want to keep your camera steady. So in here, we're doing pretty well. We're diving deep. Kind of miss our right click a little bit there, but it's okay. And overall, just kind of a clean fight. He actually didn't accomplish that much as far as hitting people. He missed a lot of shots. But he stayed alive. He did the correct crossfades at the right time. And so it was all right. The aim could have been a little bit better. Could have gotten a couple more damage in, a couple more little hits in. But that's that. So let's look at the attack on the second point now. Looking quite good for our hero. They have 7 minutes to take this. So as we come in here, okay, so I haven't been focusing too much on his amp it ups. They've been mostly good, but sometimes what we do is we do it a little bit too early. Like here, we amp it up right here. Now, if our team if our team is like 100% prepared, totally okay, I'm in it, they're gonna go straight in. Not the worst crossfade, but you want to, amp it up. But you want to amp it up a little bit later than you see in pro matches. Because in pro matches, everyone comes in and they have a clear plan. They're like, okay, we know exactly what we're going to do. So if you amp it up early, a little bit earlier, it's still okay because they're all going to go in correctly. Here you need to wait a little bit because you need to wait for your team to get in, kind of get comfortable, kind of figure out what they're going to do. Here, if you do it too early like this, we just kind of get scared and we don't wind up going in. So wasted the amp it up. Good amp it up if you're in a scrim with like a good team. Not very good in a pub. Just a little bit too early. So now our Reinhardt is dead. and it's looking a little dicey. Fortunately, the other team winds up using their Earth Shatter and all that good stuff. Normally, I would have just gotten out completely at that point, but he didn't wind up feeding any ults anyway, so it's not too bad. Right now, we have Sound Barrier, Reinhardt ult, and I think another ult is coming up. Yeah, he also constantly jumps all the time, and you know, this is actually fatiguing. This will fatigue you if you continue to jump all the time. Well, for me, I scroll wheel, but especially if you have a spacebar, that's definitely going to actually wear on you and make you play worse than if you were more rested and ready going into the fight. I know it sounds kind of weird, but it's like a little small thing. The more you spam past just warming up, the worse you will wind up being. So let's see what he does for this fight. Remember, we have our sound barrier. That's very important. That's going to be very crucial to use in this fight properly. And we have a Genji behind us. Very nice Earth Shatter by the Reinhardt. And so he hears the Genji ultimate there, and that's why he pops the sound barrier. Unfortunately, though, our team starts to die a little bit. Now is when we want to get out, because we don't want to feed any ultimate, especially to the Reinhardt. That would be very bad. So we definitely want to get out 100%. Please. Got to get out, Dabs. He's already fed a good 250 health to the enemy Reinhardt. And these kills right now don't really mean too much. They don't really mean anything. He's farming a little bit of ultimate up on himself, but I mean, doing damage with Lucio is not the most efficient, super awesome mega way to farm up your ultimate. He's only at 25% even after all of that. Meanwhile, he possibly fed the Reinhardt a full ultimate. So I think we'll look at one more fight. Let's actually look at the last fight. So this is the last fight. They wind up winning this match, which is quite good, quite positive. We have our sound barrier up again, so we got to make sure we use that properly. And so this is good, you know, we're calm. What's so bad about this? We're just calm, still have the lazy aim, whatever, but we can see much better what's actually happening when we're just chilling. So here we come. Up here, we need to make sure we don't get earth shattered. That would be tragic, so we don't want to stand quite so dangerously up to the enemy Reinhardt. But it looks like our Roadhog got a pick on their Ana, which is a huge early pick. This is something we definitely want to go aggressive on. Good assist there on the Genji as well, and a good sound barrier. And notice he's actually quite calmer. You know, the camera isn't going spinning around like crazy. The camera is just sort of nice. And it was much easier to see what was happening in that fight than any of the other fights. Get some nice hits on the soldier. That was a nice 31% kill. So overall, this is just some solid, nice, good Lucio play. And we do wind up taking the point any second now. I think once this baby diva dies. There we go. And that's the VoD. To that player, I would say fix your aim. Also, you want to calm down. You don't want to do the... He has crazy sensitivity, by the way, because he was just spinning like this. But you don't want to do that. Even when you are being crazy and you're like speed boosting in and stuff, you can still do these wall jumps without making your camera go all over the place. Like, instead of being like, you know, really get into the wall jumps, just be very, you know, camera's just still. You don't have to have the camera go anywhere. So that was the Masters Lucio. To watch these VoD reviews live, tune into my Twitch stream on Saturday evenings Eastern Time. To send in your own gameplay, use the email address you see on the screen. As always, leave any questions and comments down below. Like if you liked it, which I hope you did. Stay positive, and have a great day. Peace out, guys.